Good afternoon, Dr. Craig. This is Brian Bailey. This is my video component for EDU 689, Personal Ethics and Leadership Capacity. Let's talk a little bit about the four parts of the video that we are to create and then try to put together with a paper into our e-portfolio. So let's go ahead and talk about the four parts that we have to do here. Modified instruction. All right. I reflected upon my vision statement, and then when I created for myself for this course, and that was to learn what does it take to be a leader, and how do you implement ethics. And I came across the four major paradigms that we educators, principals, teachers, education aides in the classrooms, and whether it's in colleges, universities, public schools, prisons. Some of the information, the paradigms that we have is critique, ethics, care, and justice. And being a corrections educator, it's always either right or wrong, black or white. Now coming to find out that this is more with the four paradigms itself that we learned about in this course. Everything is not so black and white as I once thought it was. Okay? All right. So now, some of the changes to the vision statement I would make is to you kind of have to think using the four paradigms. You always get it constantly what I would call mind shift, because if you're dealing with one issue or situation with your students or coworkers, that might be the ethics of profession, but then maybe a minute or two later, then maybe the ethic of justice might pop up. And that's one thing I had to learn in this course, is that it's not, you can't have just one, two. Sometimes there's a lot of interconnectedness between the four paradigms that we've learned about. Okay, now let's talk about the legal considerations and annotation. Okay, from my week 1 project here, then let me grab this here. All right, so what were some of the major points I gleaned from this article? All right, is that okay? One point I would like to make here is on the overview is, and I quote from my the week 1 assignment. This article attracted my attention because the study would give me more insight, and all GD ABE teachers in the Florida prison system, to help students make better decisions on computerized pre-GD and GD testing, and know which ethics we're dealing with technology. Okay, all right, and let's see here. Looking back here, all right. So the goals of this assignment, okay, all right, is the goal of ethics. It is to regulate social relationships. All right. What is the OIT tech support side of it? What is the teacher side of it? And what is the administrator's side? Okay. All right. So first thing we need to talk about is some of the laws in the code of conduct that was a major part of this assignment. So we were talking about FERPA, and I really hit FERPA pretty hard in the beginning of this course, because it's the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act that was instituted during first it was the Gerald Ford presidency, and then later it was updated during Bill Clinton's administration. All right, and basically the updated part is that student data such as standardized test scores, TABE or GED, and in emails and email addresses, which is what we use there for computer skills, is really covered and really protected by this law. Okay, and so I also picked up here a Code of Technology Ethics for Educators by Barkalow, Creech et al. And it kind of goes with that. What they're saying is that teachers should help the students with the following things: application, access, student guidelines, intellectual privacy, confidentiality, okay, security, and maintaining equipment. Basically, it's common sense. You don't want your students destroying or chewing on, or just abusing AV equipment or technology equipment in your classrooms, because it's rather expensive for the school districts. Okay, so now the second point. All right, how might I apply this learning professionally? Well, I think that, having referring back to Creech, and let's see, the article by Creech, Barkalow, and others. Basically, in life learning, you got to take care of what you have. Whether it's the taxpayers, the school district, even yourself, you buy something. You have to take care of it. You have to make it last and try and get your value and get your money's worth out of it. That's pretty much the main point of that article I picked up from that. Okay. Now, the modifications I have made to improve it based on the feedback. Well, I should have been more detailed in the process on how my supervisors in Tallahassee spent these tens of thousands of dollars for these 20 brand new Lenovo computer systems and the education server and all the software they bought for me. And George and Jamie, my cohorts in this group in this class, made that point very clear to me. They said, maybe you might want to explain to us how you do things in the prison system, because they were very detailed in how they do things in the public school districts down in Texas. Okay, all right. Now moving on to Code of Ethics and Annotation. Okay, now the goals for this class were the assignment goals, and basically that was to identify the four paradigms of education: critique, care, ethics, and profession. Okay, and for quite some time I've been relying on using these, but I never learned the formal terminology to them. And now that I have learned what they are, critique is you suggest to your students, make these type of changes, advocate for these type of changes. Justice is encourage your students to develop a sense of what is right, what is wrong, and to pursue that. Okay. Care of ethics. Ethics deals like how people interact with each other and social systems. And the care and the ethic of profession, and basically it's a catch-all generic, and where we teachers of all kinds should put the interests of the students first. Do not look for any outside gain, and to do what is right, and to obey all laws, policies, procedures that involve the educational profession. Okay, all right. So, how might I apply this learning professionally? Well, one, having learned the paradigms and for the week 4 assignment, okay, like I said, it gives me formal terminology and formal definitions to decisions that I make. But now with this extra information, I can make better decisions and produce better results. Okay. All right, let's see here. And the modifications I should do with this, and then to improve upon it in my future, is I will let's see. Give me a second, Craig. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, is that these four paradigms apply to all educators. All right, and I should, besides just dealing with students, I should also apply these paradigms in my interactions with my co-workers and fellow educators in the Florida prison system. Okay. And then, last but not least, the week 5, the assignment, and it was where we selected a case study from the book by Shapiro and Stefkovich, and we were to talk about, what did we learn from this? What were the goals of the assignment? Well, okay, I'm going to spend a little longer time on week 5 assignment, because it kind of gave me a real world example on what I learned, what I should, and how I should be more observant in my education program. Okay, so the first part is what were the assignment goals? Okay, and basically I took the part of Dr. Sheriff, who's a principal, and he called one of his best teachers and a good friend, Mrs. Tharp, making copies of copyrighted music lessons and worksheets, and which she wasn't supposed to do that. B, it's against policy and procedure, set down by the school district because of budgetary issues. And C, it's against the law. Okay, all right. So, and then I took the part of, okay, what type of ethics are we looking at here? And I looked at it from Dr. Sherriff's point of view, Mrs. Starp's, and even the school superintendent. Okay, so, and some of the things I learned from this one is, and I honestly and earnestly believe that this happens quite a bit in the school districts, and it's happened to me once or twice in my educational career. All right, one, even though as we educators, we want to go the extra mile to help our students, to help them get better grades and attain knowledge. Rules are rules. We have to, and even though we may disagree with them personally, but if a policy and procedure comes down and says we must do this, and this, but not that, then that's what we have to do. Okay. Now I applaud Ms. Starp because she was using the ethic of care, because she was willing to go the extra mile to help her students, even though it was not a good decision. So, acting the part of Dr. Sharif, I suggested counseling Mrs. Starp, and I said, I would say to her, ma'am, you know, I understand what you're trying to do. However, write to the companies first. All right, and more often than not, and it has been my experience, a lot of times the copyright material owned by the publishing companies, whether it's Tech Vaughn, McGraw-Hill, a lot of the other big name textbook companies and their affiliates, they will cut you a break and allow you to make copies for financially strapped school districts, okay, or school programs. All right. So now, what I learned from this and apply professionally. All right. One thing I learned is that even though when orders come down from up top, or really it's the school board in this case, or even my supervisors in Tallahassee, they create a policy and procedure. It is for the betterment of all persons involved. And even though you may disagree with it, you are still expected as an educator and as the person in lower rank and file, you are expected to do what is necessary to implement policy, procedure, laws, and regulations. All right, to do your job. Okay. All right. Now, some of the modifications I would do with this is, excuse me. Some of the modifications, I would like to reach out to George and Jamie a little bit more and kind of get their insight on some of their experiences. And I'm sure they have had certain incidents where they wanted to make copies or reprint or or download material which is protected under copyright laws for either internet or published. And I could have said, okay, well, can you guys give me some more information on which companies were allowed to do that? Can you guys give me some websites where I can do some free downloads for worksheets for the 2014 GED, which is my area of specialty. And that would have been a major modification to improve feedback upon from my cohorts in this class. All right, that is all I have. And that's basically what I was able to glean from these assignments. In summary, and I had to modify. I modified my own personal vision statement. Is that you have to use the four ethical paradigms constantly, every day at your work. Okay. All right. Legal considerations. I learned through the code of ethics, the technology code of ethics, and through FERPA that a lot of the stuff, the assignments, the emails, scores from your students and your coworkers are protected under law. Okay. I also found out that from the assignment is that the four major ethical paradigms: care, critique, justice, profession, are pretty much the standard rules, or the standards that we all educators must abide by. Okay, and last but not least, from the week 5 plan of action, I found myself where I took the part of Dr. Sharif, and I set up a plan of action to counsel my teachers, and then say, folks, the rules are the rules. This is what we must do, and and that's how it must be. Even though that we are under severe budget crunch, there are certain things you can and can't do. Okay, and so that concludes my video component of my project for EDU 689, and I thank you, and I will be submitting this video here with my work shortly. Thank you, Dr. Craig.